Hey folks. Um, okay, so I've just been browsing some videos as I occasionally do, and I came across one talking about Andy Gray, who's a football pundit. I don't follow football at all, actually, so if I get any sort of terminology or whatever wrong here, please excuse me. Anyway, Andy Gray, I think it's I'll just say football pundit. He might be a manager or something, but in fact, he's a presenter, right? Andy Gray. At the end of 2011, he was sacked from his job for making a sexist rant about a woman goalkeeper. At least that's how it was termed. And there was two other, there's another piece of footage, Andy Gray and Richard Keys laughing at women footballers. And there was a big outcry about the sexism involved here with these guys. They're middle-aged guys, they're laughing at women footballers. Now, they've subsequently lost their jobs. I'm not so much going to argue about the rights and wrongs of what they said. I don't condone what they said. I think it was probably childish at best, and probably was sexist, and we should not condone that. But I would like to point out the, once again, concept of feminist hypocrisy. No, not concept, sorry, reality, I should say, of feminist hypocrisy, because we also have a show in the UK called Loose Women. It's quite a popular show, and it basically has a panel of, I think, 4 middle-aged women who are all sort of former singers or game show presenters or just celebrity women in general. And the lineup has changed somewhat over the years, but this programme's been on for about 12 years and it's been a pretty successful show. Now, let's be clear, the panel on that show is entirely female. They do invite men on, they'll invite male celebrities on for talks and so on. And from what I've seen, they generally treat them reasonably respectful. But I've also seen clips of Loose Women whereby there's outright sexism towards men. Whereby they ridicule men, they have a rant about men, they mock men, they scrutinise men, they critique men, you name it. And you just have to look at a typical Loose Women episode to get that idea. Now, defenders will say, oh, it's just a laugh, they don't mean any serious harm. And whilst it might be true that they're not exactly expressing hatred towards men, it's pretty obvious that there's double standards here. Why is it if 2 men make a sexist rant, they will lose their job? If women front a programme and make very similar rants about men, then people think that's very funny, and the programme stays on air. I think it should be banned, because the very premise is wrong. The fact that every single panelist on the show is a woman, the fact that they can openly ridicule men without any scrutiny whatsoever, it's just symbolic, basically, of feminist double standards, which I, for one, am sick of. And I think many men are sick of, and many women are also tired of this, because they can see it. It just shows the double standards that we see. You know, when we see examples of sexism towards women, and it does happen, I'm not saying it doesn't, in the media, there's an outcry. You can guarantee there's an outcry. When we see sexism towards men, feminists always make excuses. And they'll say, oh, it's lighthearted. You know, they'll turn it into a big joke. When it comes to sexism towards women, then that's a serious issue. It once again shows how women are being oppressed. I'm just fed up of feminist hypocrisy in this regard. And I'm not saying that those football pundits shouldn't have faced some sort of consequences, because the rants were quite sexist, but if you're going to say that, at least show consistency. You know, if as a society we're saying it's wrong for men to make those sort of rants about women, and you can decide for yourself how serious you think that is. You know, just type in Andy Gray and Richard Keys laughing at women footballers, and that'll give you plenty of links to what they said. But Loose Women, I think they get away with plenty of misandry, and they get away with ridiculing men, scrutinising men, and I think it should be banned. I think it's not helpful for our society. I think it sends out the wrong message, and I think it's very symbolic of feminist hypocrisy. If I was a male celebrity, I wouldn't appear on the show, and I'd point out for the rationale that I believe it's a sexist show. Now, it may not be hardcore sexism, they may not be saying we hate men. Clearly they're not doing that, and they'll have male guests, but there is a clear level of ridicule that would not be tolerated. You can imagine the situation now if you had 4 guys talking about women, ridiculing women, coming out with sexist jokes. It would not be tolerated. It would be banned a week later. In fact, it wouldn't even get to air in the first place. So this is a glaring example of hypocrisy. Feminists will never admit it, because the world according to feminists is men always wrong, women always right. And feminists do arrogantly believe that they're always right. So that's that. I just think it's a good example of feminist hypocrisy, and I'm fed up with it, really. Okay, rant over.